Look, I already know what you're thinking. Like, Ingraven, how could there be any type of good news when it comes to our Baltimore Ravens at a time like this? And I get it. I ain't mad at you at all. Still upset. I get it. I am too. I ain't over that loss. It was frustrating. It was annoying. All types of things. And we, of course, going to talk more about that later on, especially with some of the questions that we got today. But anyway, we got to take any type of good news that we can get. And this is in reference to Todd Monken, because we know there were 3 teams that had publicly stated interest in Todd Monken, and there were at least 2 of those 3 teams that interviewed Todd Monken, that being the Bears and the Jaguars, for their head coach positions. But the Bears, they ended up going with former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. So with them hiring him, that eliminates the job from Todd Monken. That eliminates him from being able to take over in that position. So that's a good thing for the Baltimore Ravens, because that gives them yet another opportunity for Todd Monken to remain with the Baltimore Ravens for yet another year. That allows the Baltimore Ravens to have another year, at least regular season, with offensive consistency. And that's a big thing, especially when your offense in the regular season has been really, really, really good. And they have just been becoming more diverse. They've been able to create more weapons than ever in our day and age. And that's a crazy thing to say about the Baltimore Ravens offense. And I think it's still important that despite how everything ended, despite how everything went down in the playoffs, we still got to acknowledge how great the offense was in the regular season. And obviously, yes, not that it means nothing, but we need to see more of it in the postseason too. We have to. In the bigger games, and I mean, every game is a big game in the postseason for sure. But in the even bigger games in the postseason, as the postseason goes on, because we can't just be having these games like last year was against the Texans. The offense, they started off a little bit slow, but then they started clicking, and it was like, oh yeah, let's go. But then in the Chiefs game, the offense, they fell asleep. And then this year in the Steelers game, we saw the offense, and we're like, oh, okay, let's go, baby. But then in the Bills game, well, yeah. So, and there were different issues for one reason or another, but we just want to see, we need to see better in the playoffs more consistently. But again, Ravens can't do anything about that until next year. But so far, it is looking like next year, Todd Monken will continue to be the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. And in other news, I don't know if this is good or bad. It all depends on how you look at it. But I know a lot of Ravens fans will be watching this with just disgust and being annoyed and frustration and wondering like, what are they going to say now? But the Baltimore Ravens, they are holding their end of season press conference. It's unfortunate that it's coming so soon, but they holding their end of season press conference today, Wednesday, January 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you look out for that, and we'll of course cover that when we get an opportunity to go over what they had to say and how they had to say it and what we think everything means. But again, that is Wednesday today at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So now we reach my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. Before we continue, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a single update when it comes to all Ravens. But to have your question featured, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question in a DM directly on Patreon. If you would like to join them, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. Let's get into it. First question came from Ev. Said, what's up, Ingraven? Another year, another tough loss from the Ravens. Yes, it certainly was. I hope this email is finding you in better spirits and the family's doing well. Oh yeah, we doing great. We doing great. Football wise, no, nobody's good football wise over here, but life wise, everything is good. So I appreciate you, man, and I hope the same for you too. He said, surprisingly, for the first time since drafting Lamar, I think I found myself numb to these heartbreaking losses, but I'm still rooting for 8. I saw somebody else say the same thing on Twitter, that they just feel numb. I don't yet. I really don't. I don't. And I just don't. So if you feel that way, great, because less negative impact on you and watching and whatnot. But I'm just not there. Anyway, he said, now let's get down to business. I know I can't be the first person to posed this question, but if I'm looking at these contracts and lack thereof correctly, 2025, this August will be a contract year for him, and it seems like coordinators are on a year-to-year contract. Are you talking about John Harbaugh? He said, is it possible that the Ravens have been grooming Monken to take over as the next head coach? I don't know when his contract expires. I know this is currently the last year of John Harbaugh's contract for now, but you know they're going to give him a contract extension. I don't think John Harbaugh is going anywhere. Are they grooming Monken for John Harbaugh's job? Let's see what they say later on at the press conference in regards to John Harbaugh and his job. Obviously, he has all the stability in the world. He has, there's no, they're not going to have him playing on no 1-year deal. Now, if they were to do that, that would be crazy, and that would be very unlike the Ravens. They wouldn't want him having that lame duck year, so to speak. But do I think they're grooming Todd Monken to take over as head coach? Not really. I really don't. I don't see that, but that's just me. I know some people have suggested that before in the past, but I just don't think they're grooming him to take over the Baltimore Ravens as head coach. But we'll see. Again, let's watch that press and get more of a feel of it after that, and we'll see. He said, it is the ultimate bargaining chip to retain him, making him the top paid offensive coordinator again, and promise him the keys to the Mercedes next year, where we make the Super Bowl or not. I'm naive to this side of the NFL, but would that not be a dream spot for any coach to land? Oh man, the Ravens job, if that, it's not going to come available, but if that job were to ever come available, oh my goodness, you know how many people would love to take that? They would love it. And think about, I know people always say, whenever there's talk about moving on from John Harbaugh, people go, oh, well, the grass ain't always greener. Well, if not John Harbaugh, then who? But what head coach, a head coach would have to be historically bad, and then some. They would have to try to lose on purpose in order to not have even if they tried to lose on purpose, they would still have success with this team. You would really have to there's no way a coach wouldn't be able to come in and not have success with the Baltimore Ravens. There's no way, especially when you think about all the cornerstone players that they got at different positions. You really gotta be going against the grain and just doing stuff that you got to be doing something wild in order to not have, obviously if you have health, to not have success with the Baltimore Ravens. For real. So it's, yeah, I don't think that they're positioning Todd Monken to be the head coach. I don't, because I think that John Harbaugh is still going to continue to be the head coach of these Baltimore Ravens for the foreseeable future. And he said, thank you and keep up the great work. Hey, appreciate you, Ev. Signs of encouragement. Next question came from Terence. He said, what's up, bro? Love the channel and all the work that you do. This is my first time sending the question. Okay, appreciate that, Terence. Thank you. He said, question, are you encouraged or discouraged about this loss? Oh, discouraged all the way. Discouraged for sure. Because Ravens lost. And it was different from last year. Because last year, I felt, it was on execution. But a lot of it was on coaching too. This year, I feel like it was just minimal stuff. If anything, on coach, minimal stuff. Nothing crazy at all in coach. But this was all on the players to me. This is all on the players. The interception at the beginning of the game. Well, not the beginning of the game because they scored a touchdown first. But that interception where it looked like there was a miscommunication. I don't know what happened. I think Lamar thought Bateman was going to keep running up the field. But Bateman ended up stopping and cutting to the right. But either way, the turnover is an interception. So that took away points from the Ravens. And then the fumble by Lamar. First it was the Mark Andrews drop, and then it was a bad snap, and then Lamar fumbled it. So that led to points for the Bills. Took away points from the Ravens, led to points for the Bills. Then there was the Mark Andrews, that fumble. The Lamar sack on the 2-yard. Well, the play started on the 2-yard line. Then it ended up pushing it back to, I think, the 7, something like that. Then there was the Mark Andrews fumble, then the Mark Andrews drop. So it's like, and the crazy thing about it too, the crazy thing about that game that I didn't even realize during the game, but the Baltimore Ravens, they didn't punt the ball one time. And when I say that out loud, it hurts. It really does. They didn't punt the ball one time. And you would think going into the game, if you looked at the box score from the Baltimore Ravens, even from Lamar Jackson comparing him to Josh Allen, if you look at the box score, even if you look at Derrick Henry's numbers, and it's crazy because there was that stat that when Derrick Henry carries the ball a certain amount of times for over a certain amount of yards, the Ravens always win, but they were just under both of those for Derrick Henry. Crazy coincidence? I don't know. But you would think, like, looking at all that stuff, Ravens didn't punt the ball once. Looking at Lamar Jackson numbers you would think the Baltimore Ravens, they crushed it. Defense held Josh Allen to like 127 passing yards. You would think, oh my God, Ravens got that. But they ain't punt the ball one time. But nope, they didn't. They lost. So it's a very discouraging game because it leaves me at the point like, what do you do? How do you get over this now? How do you get over the hump? Because before it been time, good coaching. Not this game. Yeah, they could have given Derrick Henry the ball more. They should have given Derrick Henry the ball more, especially in the first half. Now that part, I would say, okay, that's coaching right there. But that ain't the reason that they lost. That's a contributing factor. But there were bigger issues than that in this game specifically. So it's like, that's why it's so discouraging in my opinion, because it's like, what do you do? What do the Baltimore Ravens do now? What do they do in free agency? What do they do in the draft? What's going to really make us believe like, all right, that's the move right there. That's the one. So we'll see how they address all of those things moving forward. Anyway, he said, in my opinion, this loss was very encouraging. I don't know how. I really don't know. Well, the one way I could see is with Lamar. He messed up early on in the first half. He messed up. Very, very shaky first half. Because, again, first drive, they went, scored a touchdown. Oh, yeah, great, amazing. But then there was an interception and then a fumble still in the first half. But then the second half, he was flawless. He did his thing. And put them in position to had them in position early on to take a lead. But then Mark Andrews fumbled. But then he brought them right back and marched them down the field without a Rashad Bateman, without a Zay Flowers. And obviously Zay Flowers ain't play all game. But he didn't have his top two receivers and still drove the Baltimore Ravens all the way down the field to put them in position he got the touchdown, and then threw a perfect pass on the 2-point conversion. I've even seen people try to say, oh man, the pass could have been better. Like, what? It wasn't low. It wasn't high. It hit Mark Andrews a little below his chest, right in his stomach. Like a little above his stomach, right below his chest, like right there. It hit him in a perfect spot to where he wasn't going to get hit by a Bills defender. A Bills defender wasn't even close to the ball. Perfect. It was just fine. I've seen people, but anyway. So if anything was encouraging, that was. And the fact that the defense, they clutched it out. They came up in the clutch moments when we needed them the most. But other than that, but anyway, let's see what he had to say. He said, in my opinion, this loss was very encouraging. To see how Lamar ran into the locker room, clapping his hands with his head up at halftime and storming back to lead his guys in a hard-fought game showed me signs that his playoff woes aren't going to affect him moving forward. We won't know till we know. So we'll see. But yeah. Anyway, he said, what's your thoughts on what you saw from him despite the loss? Okay, well, we just talked about that. He said, also, I love Mark Andrews and everything he's done for us. Oh, you already know what he's about to say now. Whenever somebody says, and we usually say this about Lamar Jackson, because we see a lot of people say it about Lamar, like, oh, I love Lamar Jackson, but you're like, ooh, okay, I know something's coming. And we could tell with Mark Andrews. Let's see what he says. He said, also, I love Mark Andrews and everything he's done for us, but, and he said a but too, I do believe we have a sleeping giant on our hands with Likely. It ain't no sleeping giant, because Likely's been awake. We know about Likely. He put us on last year. Last year was a really likely breakout season. And this season, it's been a lot of the same. Like, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews have a crazy connection that they've done had since 2018 when they both came in together and whatnot. Ever since Lamar started taking over as a start, a crazy connection. Man, because obviously they work together a lot, even in practices before Lamar even became a starter. Because remember, Joe Flacco was QB1, Hayden Hurst was tight end 1. Lamar Jackson was QB2, and Mark Andrews was tight end 2. So they had a connection that was budding already from jump. And we've obviously seen it grow over the years like crazy. But Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely, their connection is great too. It's amazing. And we've seen it. And with Isaiah Likely, he's shown up a lot more in the playoffs than Mark Andrews has. And it's crazy to say, especially guys, they're likely only been with the Ravens a couple years. But anyway, let's continue. He said, I hope the coaching staff sees his full potential and rely on him a lot more moving forward. You know, it's funny how the season started and how it ended. Well, it's not funny at all, but we were saying, beginning of the season, before the season even started, I said Isaiah likely needs to be tight end one. He needs to be tight end one. And I was saying, to all the people that said trade Mark Andrews during the season, no. I was saying, nope, do not trade him. Don't trade him. Why would you trade him? You keep both. Keep both for this season. But I said Isaiah likely needs to be tight end one because he showed us everything that we needed to see last season. And then some people agreed, and some people gave a little pushback, like, no, it still need to be Mark Andrews. And then the Ravens, they obviously showed us, like, oh, no, it's still Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews balled out this season. No doubt about that. Mark Andrews is still a baller. He had a very, very tough moments in the divisional game against the Bills. Very, very tough moments from him. He's still a baller, though. He did his thing this year, regular season. We saw it. But it's crazy how that's what we started off saying. Isaiah likely need to be tight end one at the beginning of the season. Then that obviously didn't happen. But now I see a lot of people saying it moving forward. Oh, Isaiah likely, he need to be tight end one over Mark Andrews. Everybody say, oh, get rid of Mark Andrews. Da, 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 da. What are the Baltimore Ravens going to do with Mark Andrews? I have no clue. No clue at all. But I do know that these Ravens, they got some decisions to make because Isaiah likely contract runs out after this year. Mark Andrews' contract runs out after this year. And Charlie Coler's contract runs out after this year. I'm pretty sure. So all of their contracts expire at the same time. Let me just double check that because I'm like 99% sure that that's exactly what it is. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's very, very crazy. Yeah. All three tight ends are free agents after next season. Oh yeah. So yeah, after next year, that's it. So Ravens got some decisions to make, and I'm sure they are going to get to making those ASAP. That makes it a higher possibility, in my opinion, that I don't know, because not everybody's gonna get an extension. Not everybody's gonna hang around. Not everybody's gonna stick around. And the Ravens are going to have to choose who they want to keep. And we know with the Baltimore Ravens, they like handling this stuff earlier rather than later. So let's just watch out for who they end up giving a contract extension to. I know who I think they would choose and for the long term, and I think that's going to be Isaiah likely. I really do. And it's not to say that Mark Andrews is bad because he's not. Again, he had a really bad moment in the playoffs, and I mean, he hasn't really had many good moments in the playoffs, but with Isaiah likely, he's younger, he's been healthier, he's a little more dynamic than Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is not bad at all. Mark Andrews is still really, really good. Really, really good. Isaiah likely is still really, really good too. Both of them just really, it's such a good problem to have when you got to make decisions like these. Because when you got two ballers at the same position, it's like, oh, okay, I like that. But I think that they'll end up going with Isaiah likely in the long haul. And then Mark Andrews will end up being, because they're not going to pay two tight ends, big time tight end money. They're just not. They ain't going to do it. So I think Isaiah, like with him being younger and him still being up and coming, then I think they'll end up going with him. This question came from Frandy. He said, I'm not sure if that's true, but apparently Lamar was dealing with some kind of sickness. And looking at him in the Bills game, I noticed he didn't take off like that, even when the opportunities were presenting themselves. I saw it in an article, and they was even saying that he was dealing with some fatigue issues from the sickness. I didn't hear anything about that, but I mean, in my opinion, it's still there's still no excuse though, because he looked just fine to me. And obviously, I mean, we see what he did throughout the game. We saw what he did, especially on the last drive to put them in position. So the sickness is not an excuse to me, and I don't think it would be to Lamar Jackson either. Next question came from Reco. He said, hey, Ingraven, how you and the family? Hey, we good, man. I hope you and the family doing even better. He said, this is my first email, and it may be a little long. Do you think the Ravens organization really care about Lamar's legacy and what even going to a Super Bowl does for him? I think they definitely do, because it helps their legacy as well. It goes hand in hand. It wouldn't just help Lamar Jackson. It would help the Baltimore Ravens as a franchise, too. So, yeah, it's about both. He said, I feel they never go all in or make tough decisions. Now, the go all in part, no, that's not their style. But the tough decisions, they have to make that. Like, you have no choice but to make that as a franchise, especially as a successful franchise. And I know people, oh, they're not successful. They ain't been winning the Super Bowl in a long time. I get that. But overall, like, they have won a whole lot of games, whole lot of regular season games, and some playoff games too. So they are, in the eyes of most people, a successful franchise. Like, obviously with the Chiefs, they are, you know what the Chiefs are. But anyway, do you think, since it's not the talent, it's the coach or GM that's holding them back? What was it in this playoff game? It wasn't the coach or GM holding them back in this game. They had the talent. The talent was there. They really did. They had it. They had it all. So it wasn't the coach or GM holding them back in this game. This one was on the players for sure. It really was. Now, do I wish the Baltimore Ravens would go a little more all in? Yeah, that'd be cool. They could. But the talent has not. It's not been the problem for even the past 2 years alone. It hasn't been a problem. They've been healthy. They made the tough changes when it came to some players, even some people on the coaching staff. Like, remember Steve Saunders? Ravens have been very, very healthy overall the past 2 years. They have built some nice teams, put some nice teams together, and they've been healthy for the most part. Yeah, they had some injuries here and there, but they've been pretty good on the side of health. So it hasn't been the talent. Has it been a coach and a GM? A GM, no. But in this game, coaching, no. Were there some regular season games where coaching mess? Yeah, it certainly were. But in the crunch moments and this playoffs, coaching was not an issue. Was not an issue, man. Anyway, he said Harbaugh seems to never have the answers or motivation to stop the bleeding or push them over the line. Not this playoff game. No, Harbaugh was fine. In this last playoff game, he was just fine, man. And y'all know, like, if Harbaugh mess up, I'll be quick to say, hey, what was that? But not this game. No. Cannot put this blame on Harbaugh, in my opinion. You can't. But anyway, he said, and he always has dumb reasons for his doghouse. Bless you. What a way to end it. He said, bless you and keep up the great content. I'm still sick and I'm out. We all love, man.